Welcome back, or just welcome. I'm Lizzie Frizzle, and this is the Recap Corner. Today we're talking about Stars on Mars, Season 1, Episode 5, called Resupply Mission. With this latest installment, the show returned from a week off the air to its lowest ratings yet. And after watching the episode, I kind of wish the break was longer. Maybe I'm just biased because I really don't like it when reality competitions add new cast members partway through a season. And we learned at the end of the previous episode that that's exactly what was going to happen here in Resupply Mission. 4 new celebronauts are moving into the hab, and a through line throughout this episode is the original cast's excitement, or maybe it's desperation, about new energy joining the group.
I'm really looking forward to having all of this brand new energy in the hab.
Having some new personalities, we need it. They come in with a fresh set of eyes and a lot less drama.
I'm definitely excited for new people to talk to. I'm hoping that they're cool and they add to the good vibes.
I need some like-minded individuals who are down for a wild experiment.
Fortunately, these 4 new astronauts made it here, and for me personally, it's cool to get some new people just to kind of mix up the dynamic in the group. I have a feeling it's going to be very interesting.
Life on Mars will definitely improve slightly if whoever comes in here has a good vibe. That is always welcome.
Wow.
It might have something to do with the fact that the remaining original cast members are continuing to clash with each other. Everyone has fractured into little groups, with the noted exception of Portia, who seems to be the only celebrinaut capable of transcending the cliques, thus making her, at least socially, the most influential cast member. We also learn that Rhonda's officially joined the Athlete Alliance, which is just Marshawn and Lance. Of course, the biggest and most ongoing reason for the cliques is the personality clash between Ariel and Lance. She says they do not mesh, and also that she's put off by Lance's overly competitive nature. But in this episode, Ariel plays a game of darts against him and Marshawn, and she seems plenty competitive herself.
That's a triple 15, a 6, and 19, so you have 70.
And in the lead, out of Plano, Texas, Lance Armstrong.
If I get my number, I win. Oh, crap. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Yes! I got it. I won.
Regardless, their game is intercut with interviews of Ariel complaining about Lance. But when he jokes that they don't get along, she denies it.
Lance and I are incredibly different people. We do not mesh at all. He likes to push buttons.
You really think you're 5 feet tall?
I'm 5'1".
No, you're not.
It's safe to say that we're not friends.
Don't, Ariel, I know you don't like me. Don't throw the thing yet.
Who said I don't like you?
It's a headshot.
I don't know who said that.
In his own interviews, Lance is equally annoyed with Ariel. He calls her a little tyrant, but doesn't provide any context. And it won't be the only time this episode that he says something inflammatory about her, but doesn't elaborate. Later, Lance does elaborate, but about something a little different. He shares his opinions about transgender athletes. Now, before we talk about the scene, I want to say that I support trans people, I support trans rights, and I support the right of trans people to compete in sports alongside cisgender athletes. Oh, I said cisgender, don't tell Twitter.
So I did a podcast like a month ago, and this guy wanted to ask me about transgender stuff in sports. And I said, listen, one of my most key employees, they're transitioning. I have no problem with that. I love it. Let's go. And I said to the guy on the podcast, I said, listen, this is real simple. You want to transition? Let's do it. You have your own category. We're going to have a whole new division. We'll celebrate you just like we celebrate everybody else. Let's go. What's unfair about that? And by the way, I sound like a right-wing lunatic. I'm not. Like, I'm the most liberal person, but from a sporting perspective, my view is my view until proven differently. If this discussion gets to a place where a room of the brightest scientists and medical experts and everything else can say 100% without a doubt that it's a level playing field for this issue, then we're fine.
I just, sunk when this conversation happened. Because though I don't think Lance was trying to be hateful or intentionally transphobic, his opinions are easily debunked by sources like the ACLU, NPR, or a bunch of different medical studies. Now, one of reality TV's early purposes, or maybe first side effects, was people learning to correct their bad opinions. Someone would say something harmful, then someone with different experiences would teach them why it's harmful, because especially in house reality, there's not much better to do but sit around and talk all day. The relationship between Coral and Mike on The Real World Back to New York is like a classic example of this. But those storylines happened in the early days of internet, when, depending on your education or your environment, you genuinely might not have had access to enough information to form a full opinion. Lance Armstrong has internet access and could easily learn that the things he's afraid of about transgender athletes don't exist. Now, I don't want bad opinions like his to be platformed, but I will say I do appreciate the decision to air the segment, as opposed to other reality competitions that hide problematic moments by burying the footage, then abruptly removing cast members without any explanation unless you search the subreddit. If anything, I wish the scene was longer so we could see Lance change his mind. Ariel, Tinashe, and Adam, who's particularly well-informed on the subject, disagree with Lance, but the scene ends before anyone explains to him why his concerns aren't based in fact. But it's 2023, and it's no one's responsibility to educate Lance about trans athletes but Lance's, and Google's. Also, human rights issues aside, it is, unreal that Lance Armstrong thinks he needs to be concerned about other athletes' hormone levels. After a tense first act, it's time to pretend it never happened and elect a new base commander. Last episode, Adam nominated Rhonda in the hopes of gaining her loyalty. That didn't work, so he's trying again with Portia, Tinashe, and a slightly revised plan. This time, Adam wants to be base commander himself. If Portia and Tinashe vote for him, then he'll keep them safe from extraction. They basically agree to the plan, but Portia refuses to formalize an official alliance. Kind of on a technicality, though, if you ask me.
I absolutely do not do alliances. I know for a fact alliances ruin things. We three click really, really well, so of course you want to keep the person here, but we aren't standing against anybody else. We're just standing for each other.
Look, Portia, I get that you have the best social and political standing in the cast right now, but that's an alliance. At the official election, Adam nominates himself and does become the new base commander, but not before he checks in with Ariel for a fourth election. Why don't we just let Ariel nominate herself when she wants to, instead of walking around her on electoral eggshells every episode? Immediately, Adam's gotta assign base duties, but there's only one. 2 celebronauts need to go outside and collect rock samples for science. Rhonda and Marshawn volunteer, Rhonda and Marshawn are chosen. It's honestly a pretty boring segment, though Rhonda does share some cool geology facts while they're outside, and Marshawn falls in a hole.
Did you know it's called the red planet because all the iron in the soil it's got oxidized and turned to rust?
So is you like the encyclopedia for Mars?
No, I just watch a lot of YouTube.
I want to check something out.
Okay.
So it looked like a little interesting space over here, right?
What do you see over there?
I don't know, but I'm breaking on the way.
Watch out, those rocks are not really stable. Hey. Oh! Oh my God!
Man down! Man down!
Ah!
I done bust my ass so long.
Hold on. Let me get stable. All right, ready?
Come on, you got your feet right?
No.
Here we go.
Meanwhile, inside, the rest of the cast reads little fun facts about Mars and then does, hacky, dated comedy about being skinnier because there's less gravity.
Gravity on Mars is 62% lower than it is on Earth. So if you're 200 pounds on Earth, you'll probably only weigh 83 pounds on Mars. So not only are we younger, we're getting younger, we're skinnier. I love this.
Later, the group gets a message from Mission Control, and we finally pick up where last episode left off, with the reveal that the resupply craft carrying the 4 new Celebronauts and more rations crashed. But it didn't just crash. It also split in half and sent 2 radioactive canisters into the Martian landscape. If the canisters aren't retrieved and destroyed, then the radiation will spread to the HAB and, theoretically, the rest of Mars. But Shaddy Daddy's smart enough to know that people will only care about a problem if it affects them directly. To complete the mission, first the cast will use their robot dogs, Marcia and Eartha, to collect the canisters and destroy them from afar. Then they'll rescue their 4 new Celebronauts before their 34.5 minutes of oxygen run out. In keeping with his earlier promises, Adam asks Portia to be his mission specialist. She tells the cast to support the other original crewmates, even if she's also excited for newbies because it makes it feel like some of her outfits are also new again.
I wasn't expecting an acceptance speech. Did I love it? Every second.
After suiting up, the cast drives their rover to the crash site. There, they'll split into 2 pairs, Lance and Rhonda and Ariel and Tinashe. Each pair will use 1 rad dog to retrieve 1 radioactive canister. To do this, one partner uses a controller to control either Marcia or Eartha, while the other partner acts as both of their eyes, using binoculars to direct the person with the controller toward the canister. Forcing a pair or a group of people to operate with only 1 set of eyes is an all-time reality competition. Survivor does it, The Challenge does it. I love it. Problem is, in this competition, there are 5 people in the field. So Marshawn just gets a drone because he liked it the first time, I guess, and he flies it around by himself, and it's supposed to act as an additional set of eyes for both teams, but it doesn't. In the time it took me to explain all that, what do you know? The cast arrived at the crash site, already having used 14.5 minutes of their total oxygen. I thought it was so bogus that drive time counts toward oxygen loss. It's like the production is making the cast play on hard mode. Once all the equipment's unloaded, Lance and Rhonda get to work with Marcia. Rhonda describes herself as a gamer, so she uses the controller, while Lance uses the binoculars. He says they're very blurry and hard to see through. Then, right after, the editors do him so dirty by slapping a through binoculars interface on the crispest looking footage.
It's really difficult to see out of these binoculars. Okay. Whoa. She's right over it.
Soon after, Marcia is already close enough to the canister that a hook automatically drops out of her abdomen and scoops it up. Marshawn says it's like the claw in Toy Story, and honestly, that is the most apt way to describe it. Next, Marcia carries the canister into a nearby cave where she waits for Eartha. Cut to Eartha, who's working with Tinashe on controls and Ariel on binoculars. The 2 of them have a real struggle activating Eartha. Ariel also struggles to hear Tinashe, even though they're standing right next to each other.
Tinashe. Yep. Tinashe. Yes. Tinashe. Yes, I'm literally right behind you. Sorry, I can't hear it's so hard to hear you.
At first, this phase is presented like it could be a potential source of total mission failure. But in reality, it only takes Ariel and Tinashe a few minutes to retrieve their canister, then lead Eartha into the cave. With 10 minutes of oxygen left for the 4 new Celebronauts, Marshawn flips a switch that detonates a huge explosion inside the cave. Needless to say, the radioactive canisters are destroyed, but so are Marcia and Eartha. The cast takes a moment to honor the dogs for sacrificing themselves Paper Mario Origami King Bobby style.
This will be the last time that we touch or see Eartha and Marcia. They're sacrificing themselves today. Oh. Yes, you won't see them anymore.
Thank you, Eartha. We love you.
We love you.
I will name a crater that's over 40 kilometers wide after you.
We love you guys.
It must have been a long moment, because now there's just 2 minutes of oxygen left. The cast heads to the damaged capsule and loads the ration restock onto the rover. Then they make the hard choice to leave the 4 new celebronauts for dead. No, wait, that's wrong. It just takes a really long time for the capsule door to open.
Who is it? Who is it?
Let's see who.
Oh my God, that door is so freaking slow.
So, who are the 4 new celebronauts? First, there's Kat Cora. She's a celebrity chef, most notably the first female Iron Chef. Next, there's Ashley I. Canetti, a reality TV personality, specifically from The Bachelor, Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelor Winter Games. Be careful. If her older footage is any indication, she will kill you if you take a shot every time she sheds a tear. There's actor-comedian Andy Richter, also most famously Conan O'Brien's former sidekick. Adam calls him Conan O'Brien's former assistant, but I will not stand for the Sona erasure. I love Andy Richter. He's smart, he's funny, he's got great insight about mental health. But when I saw him, I was conflicted. Like I said, I don't like it when people join reality competitions partway through a season. At the same time, his joining was my favorite thing that happened in the episode, and, it wasn't close. Finally, there's Paul Pierce, a former NBA All-Star who then worked at ESPN as an analyst until he was semi-recently fired for posting a memorable Instagram Live. Now he has to do Stars on Mars. With both radioactive canisters destroyed, the rations loaded onto the rover, and all 4 new celebronauts rescued, the mission is a success. The cast earns a new patch, but I forgot to write down what kind. Though I'm not convinced it was even possible for them to fail this mission. When the group's oxygen levels are connected to their mission time limits, failure means death. And I don't think the producers are prepared for a mass casualty event. Though I do think that might make for a more interesting show. You start with one group of celebronauts, but if they fail an oxygen-based mission and die, then the season continues with a new crew. But for now, I guess I'll just keep talking about the show with the format it actually has. After the mission, the 9 celebronauts in the field enter the HAB's airlock. Base Commander Adam tries to talk to them via intercom, but everyone's chatting among themselves and not listening. It takes Ariel raising her voice a little bit to quiet the group, but her decision to do that offends Paul Pierce so thoroughly it becomes the biggest source of drama in an episode that featured a discussion about trans athletes and blowing up 2 robot dogs.
Hey guys, this is Base Command. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Can they hear us? Hey guys, can you hear us?
Can you hear us? We're inside.
Guys, you keep doing that. But Base Commander's trying to talk to us in here, so let's listen to it so that we can get our ass inside. Continue.
The way she was talking to us, like in a real bossy kind of way, and I thought she came off kind of firm and aggressive, and I really didn't like that.
Once the scene can continue, because Ariel successfully got the cast to shut up, the 4 new Celebronauts are invited inside the hab, while the original cast members remain in airlock. Inside, Paul does not hesitate to suggest that Ariel be extracted. And apparently she upset Kat and Ashley too, because they immediately agree with him. Only Andy Richter abstains from throwing somebody he just met under the bus.
So y'all met the crew in here?
We did.
You met him for 2 seconds. Who should we eliminate?
Oh, gosh.
Whoever was giving the command in there, they was pretty firm.
Oh, Ariel.
She was firm.
Yeah.
Like, I think she could have asked a little more nicer to shut up. Like, I mean, but I guess when you're a captain, you got to be firm. I don't
She's
know.
not the captain. He's the base commander.
Oh, man. Well, that was too firm for me.
And you're agreeing.
I knew who he was talking about, though.
No,
I knew what he was talking about, too, but I was too scared to say it.
no, I'm going to say it.
I'm not voting for anybody. I just got here. I'm here to make friends.
Fortunately, Adam, Portia, and the 4 new Celebronauts get a message from Mission Control revealing that due to the ration restock, there is no need to extract anyone this episode. So we started with 12 Celebronauts, then we got down to 7, now we're back up to 11, and we're almost halfway through the season. Later, after everyone's back inside the hab, Lance doesn't hesitate to gossip with Kat and Ashley about the terrible, awful drama that Ariel caused the night before. But he doesn't elaborate on what the drama was. Is he talking about the cockroaches thing from last episode?
Was it drama?
No, last night was the drama.
What happened last night?
Oh, boy.
I'm from the Bachelor franchise. I need the drama.
This was terrible.
Tell us.
This one right here. It was awful.
Real scary.
Just avoid.
Unlike me, Ashley doesn't care about the details. As a Bachelor Nation alum, she's just glad to be surrounded by drama and have a camera to talk to about it.
I'm glad to be here in front of you, camera. I feel very comfortable with you. I feel more comfortable talking to you than I feel pretty much everybody out there.
And it gets worse. As the entire cast shares a meal of restocked rations around the kitchen table, Paul starts loudly complaining about Ariel while she's just down the way.
I know I play sports and everything, and when my coaches yell, I'm like, don't yell at me because you can talk to me.
Right, talk.
No, just talk to me.
You gotta eliminate Ariel.
Oh, she was kind of firm in there.
Wow. Okay, like you just got here. That's kind of not cool. I definitely feel like there's a target on me after that.
It's a competitive group, and I'm a competitor also. When you put the social strategy in it, put somebody in a real difficult position.
Also, and this is totally unrelated, but after committing so hard to the Martian theme, why did production make the new rations ready-to-eat food like pizza and chicken wings? How is that supposed to get to Mars? And I know I sound ridiculous, but it completely ruined the world building for me, and that was the thing I liked most about this show. And that gets worse too! As the cast eats together, Kat promises that tomorrow she's gonna make a huge feast with all the new food. But wasn't the point of the resupply that the original cast overate their rations? Whatever. Whatever. As the episode ends, various Celebronauts interview about their competitiveness, which I guess is a good thing, because it still appears like there's no cash or other prizes, so the desire to just win something seems to be the only reason to be on Stars on Mars. On the next episode, Marcia and Eartha are revealed to be alive! That actually happened at the very end of this episode, but I couldn't fit it into my outline. Also, the cast contends with a meteor shower, during which Andy Richter seems very overwhelmed. Just, like, what item of personal value must I sacrifice in order for a comedian to stay on this show? Thanks for watching. Come back next Sunday for another Stars on Mars recap. And in the meantime, if you're so inclined, please like and subscribe. Thanks again. See you next Sunday. Bye.